So the next question then becomes, is it good? And that's what we're gonna find out. How you doing, guys? This is Eric from RuleTheWasteland.com. So I have a sample here that was sent to me that we get to try out, Valley Food Storage. I don't believe I've ever had anything from them before, so this is gonna be a true blind sampling, and we'll just give it a quick review, see what we can come up with in terms of the good, the bad, and the ugly, if any. And first thing that I noticed is that there's no label on here that tells what's in it, so I don't really like that. Obviously, especially if you have a lot of other food storage, you're gonna wanna know what meals are in there, maybe, even if not necessarily the nutrition information, which I do think should probably still be on there. You'd want something about, because this says 70 servings, but since all these are different, all these companies are different in terms of how many calories per serving and whatnot, you'd probably wanna have that information on there, unless, because even if you exclusively bought from one company, if you store this stuff away, you're not necessarily gonna know or remember when the time comes how much is in there. But probably it's not a huge deal. Of course, you could obviously like print something out, tape it on there, but that seems kind of like something you shouldn't have to do. All right, so let's see. To remove, lift at sides. Doesn't look like there's anything I have to rip off. So, okay, looks like it's just a normal bucket. So this isn't anything connected in. There we go. So the good thing about that is that this could be a reusable bucket. Some of them have like peel off plastic things, which might provide a better seal, but at least this can be popped on and off. And the packets inside are all sealed, so this isn't necessarily the necessary to keep the stuff fresh. We'll see. So you could probably have a smaller bucket on here if you needed to save space. So if space was an issue, since it seems like they just use mostly the same size bucket, I would, and since this is just a normal snap-on bucket lid, what you could do is take, I mean, there's different size kits that they have. This one in particular is the 70 serving. But if you did get the same one and you needed to save space, you could transfer these out of these, because it does appear that the bucket isn't necessarily contributing to the storage life. It's just based on the pouch that they're in. So we got, what does this one say? Fettuccine Alfredo, strawberry oatmeal, chicken a la king, mac and cheese. And as you can see, these do have the nutrition information on them and everything. So since that lid does just pop on and off, it's not as big of a deal. Freeze-dried green beans. And obviously if it was one of those like the Augustin Farm ones or some of the other ones that you would have to like break a seal of some kind to check, it's not as big of a deal that they don't have the nutrition information on the outside. Irish pub cheddar soup. I'm obviously not gonna be sampling all of these. There's a lot of them. Apple cream of wheat. Italian wild risotto. Maple brown sugar oatmeal. Another freeze-dried bananas. That's nice. Freeze-dried stuff is always good. And chicken teriyaki. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 it looks like. And each of these says 5 servings per pouch. Serving size is, oh, that's a 10 serve strawberry oatmeal, so it depends on the product. So it varies. Most of them are 5 to 10 servings. So most of them 5, 1 10, 1 8 of like the bananas and stuff. So which one should I try? So I'm not sure if these are supposed to be able to honestly pour into the bag or not. The directions, it just says, yeah, so these, I guess not. So this says to add the mix to the water, so you would need to have some sort of cooking operation. So just looking at the ingredients, it's on a few of these, it seems pretty solid. I don't see any seed oils in this one. It does have yeast extract, which can sometimes be monosodium glutamate, it depends. And it lists it twice for some reason under the chicken broth. Maltodextrin, yeast extract, salt, potato flour, spices, yeast extract. So I don't know what's up with that. But overall, they bill as having no GMO type ingredients. This one is just the apple cream of wheat is just pretty clean as well. I don't see anything bad other than the yeast extract, which that depends if it is indeed even, because I think MSG is usually hydrolyzed yeast extract, so I'm not sure if that's included or not, but that would be the only thing I see right now that I would not want to be in there if I had the choice, but it's not a huge deal usually, especially if you're talking about saving these just for, but yeah, otherwise the ingredients are good. Something like the freeze-dried stuff's always good, single ingredient, green beans, banana slices. But even the other ones, I don't see any, no seed oils, no corn syrup. Doesn't appear to have added sugars or anything like that. So, pretty cool. So which one of these should we try? All right, settled. We're gonna go with the chicken teriyaki. So I'm definitely happy with the ingredients list on these. It does something that they've been using as a selling point, and it is pretty clean, especially when you are talking about compared to the stuff like the August Farms and everything like those. A lot of people don't care about that stuff, corn syrup, things, and seed oils, stuff like that. I really do care about it. Like you've seen me talk about in the chilies and everything, the stag chili and the wolf chili. One of the main reasons I was looking at those is because they don't have any of that bad stuff in them, and these don't either, which is great. It is getting more and more common, luckily, that people are focusing on that stuff. So some of the other freeze-dried meals don't have that stuff in them either. You have to watch out for it always though. But those are the more expensive ones. These are more comparable to those in price as well though, that when you are, you do have to pay a little extra. So like the August Farms stuff is the reason that stuff is cheaper, because they use cheaper, shittier ingredients. So these are not cheap. I think this is like 160 bucks. So you're still looking at paying well over $10 per meal. So, you know, depending on which actual elements are important to you, if you really are just saying, I really am not planning on ever eating this stuff and I just want to have absolute emergency rations, maybe that's a bridge too far for some people. But if it's something that you're planning on using while maybe camping or cycling through, or really want to not have to eat that crap even when there is a disaster scenario, then you're going to have to pay a little bit more money. So the next question then becomes, is it good? And that's what we're going to find out. Now, you wouldn't have too much trouble, it seems like, splitting this up into days, especially if you took like, I mean, obviously this stuff is not going to go bad in like a day or whatever. So if you wanted to do half of one of the breakfast ones and then half one of the lunch ones and then do the same thing the next day, you should be fine. Or if you wanted to kind of break this down into one of these bigger meals and just have that be your OMAD, one meal a day, and then supplement it with like the other ones as like a snack, then you could have a pretty good way of breaking this down into like a week's supply of food. Or, you know, you could do it however you want. So obviously the shelf life is a selling point as well, as always. That's the whole point of these emergency foods. So this one has a sell-by date of 2047. So these are always supposed to last usually at least 25 years. So yeah, so the main selling point of these seems to be mostly that they really do a good job of maintaining quality ingredients, which is definitely looks like it. So that's a good thing. They, like I said, they say no GMO, no fillers, not this laden with preservatives, which is good. This one even has dehydrated pineapple on it. So yeah, so now the next step is going to be the taste test, like I said. Unless you guys know what I think. All right, 1.5 cups of water to boil. So right off the bat, it does smell pretty good. Definitely not getting that like super MRE type, super preserved smell. I will say that probably because they don't add a bunch of chemicals, it is a little clumped up, which might make it a little bit harder to measure accurately, but I'm just busting it up a little bit. Doesn't seem to be an issue. So this is what's listed as a serving size, a 1/2 cup. Which we're gonna do for the taste test. I don't need to eat this massive pouch, but like I said, if I was actually doing this, I would just make the whole pouch, because first of all, it could be 2 normal sized meals, or for like, you know, for 2 people obviously, or 1 giant meal, really hearty meal for 1 person, which is probably how I would do it. Because if you're in a real disaster scenario it'd probably be a lot better just logistically. You don't have to heat up the water as often. You don't have to go through the process of cooking, take as much time. You know, I would just eat one giant meal or two big meals a day. I wouldn't break this into this many small servings, but it'll be quicker to cook this way and give us a good idea of what kind of portion we're looking at for these servings. Because the serving, that's only a 210 calorie serving, so that's not really a whole meal. Servings are kind of, I ignore servings most of the time. I just look at the overall calories, and like I said, this is 1,050 calories, which is a hearty meal. Is it true that a washed pot never boils? I guess I wasn't watching it. All right, so now the downside is we have to heat this for or simmer it for 18 to 22 minutes to put a lid on. So that's kind of a while, but we'll see. If you put it in a sun oven or something, that would be easy. All right, so it's been just shy, or it hasn't been quite the 22 minutes, but I noticed that it was starting to stick, so most of the water has been boiled off. And I hadn't stuck it all until then, so we'll give this a shot. All right, so I just poured it in. And like I said, I would ignore the serving size because this is a serving size is not enough for a full meal. But I would probably go with like half that container for a normal size meal and the whole thing if you wanted a really hearty meal. But since there was supposed to be, I think there's like 10 servings in there. Something like that. Five servings. So half of it would be, 2.5 times this or something, so. It's pretty good. Got a chunk of pineapple. It's actually good. I like it. I told you guys before, I'm not much of a discerning palate, but if stuff is cheap and gross, I can still tell. I will say there's not like really discernible chunks of meat, but it does taste good. I like the pineapple. If you don't like that type of flavor, then I wouldn't like it. That goes for anything. It's really not fair to evaluate a meal if it contains something you just literally don't like. But this is definitely passes the muster for something I would eat now. Forget about during the shit the fan scenario. I'd be stoked. So yes, it is good. I like it. So once again, that's the chicken teriyaki. And like I said, I really don't. Okay, so it doesn't actually have. It has chicken broth in it. So it doesn't really necessarily have chunks of chicken, which is what I was kind of like, I don't see them in there. I know they have freeze-dried packages, like just a bucket like this is all freeze-dried meat. This is good. I might start adding pineapple to my rice. I'm gonna be honest, I was not actually expecting to like this. I don't know why. I think it's because anytime I do a review, and I've done this before, I told you guys, where I've told people, like I always just, all I ever promise is an honest review, not necessarily a positive one. And just recently, it wasn't a food item, but it was another product that I had to tell them. I said, I can't do a good review on this for whatever that product was. And so I didn't post it. I was like, do you still want me to post it? It's not gonna be positive. And they said no. So it's harder with taste stuff because you're like, I know I don't have a very, I'm not gonna be like, oh, there's notes of whatever in this. And most of the time I'm just like, it's okay, so how do you do a review? But I'm like saying, this is legitimately good. It's only one of the menu items, but it definitely bodes well for if I was camping or apocalypse or even normal time like right now. It is good, I'm not gonna lie. So I can, as opposed to just being like, yeah, it's food, I can actually say I like it and it tastes good. Doesn't mean you will. that's just one menu item. I'll probably try some more in the future video. I've had this for a little while now. Finally need to crack it open and do this review. So what's my overall assessment? Like I said, the downsides, I'll go with them. We'll lead with that first. Bad news, get it out of the way. Price is the biggest downside, obviously. That is just something that we're gonna have to deal with, I think. Like, can you get long-term food storage cheaper? Absolutely. Can you get food that's this good cheaper? Like in terms of quality? Maybe a little bit. Yes, if you do it yourself, obviously. But that's something that, like if you store it yourself. But if you're talking about storing it the same way, with complete meals, that's a lot more difficult. If you want to store a bucket of rice, obviously that's insanely cheap, even now. But if you're talking about a whole meal, especially freeze-dried stuff, that's a bigger operation. So the number one downside is price. Number two downside is, I would say, just the lack of information on here and the wasted space of this bucket. Those are pretty minor, especially because this particular bucket is one that you can just pop on and off and you don't even need it. You could use this for something else, put these in a much smaller container, a little box or whatever, because they're obviously their long-term storage capability is in these pouches. It has nothing, pretty much doesn't have anything to do with that bucket. So you can see how you can put this in a little bag or a little other Tupperware or something, tote, and take up probably half the space of that bucket. Or you could add more things to this. If you have a couple more of these, or if you have some other types of freeze-dried meals or seasonings or whatever, you could add a roll of toilet paper and a lighter and a little stove in there and make this like a full kit that you could throw in your bug out bag. That's probably the best bet. Is add your little mess tin like you would get for camping. Add a little solo stove or something like that. Maybe some fire starters and a little utensil kit, and then you've got a complete like kitchen camp kit in there. 6 days at 2,000 calories, just over 6.5 days. You could push that farther if you are willing to eat 1,800 calories or something. I always get sidetracked, so we'll go down the list once more. The first major downside is the cost. It is what it is. Not necessarily, it's not a rip-off or anything. It's on the higher end for if you're just talking purely calories. The way it's in here with no information, minor issue. The upsides are, number one, the ingredients are really good. No GMO, none of the stupid fillers, no corn syrup crap, no seed oil crap that I can see, at least in any of these meals. So that's very good. I like that a lot. Definitely worth the money to get that if you can afford it. And obviously the upside was the taste, at least for the one that I had. It bodes well for all of these. Like I said, some of these are harder to mess up. I go with, I usually don't go with the pasta ones for the flavor test because in my opinion, they're harder to mess up because you have more of a leeway. So I go with some of the other dishes. And that's the good news about these is some of these should be a little harder to mess up. So if they got this one right, that bodes well for the rest of them. And I honestly can say I definitely did enjoy that. It was beyond just being okay with it. I actually really liked it. I wish I'd made more of it. And like I said, I wasn't expecting to be able to say that, so that's a good thing. So check them out. I don't think I have an affiliate link of any kind or even a promo code. They just sent me this to try it out. But you know, Valley Food Storage. For some reason, every time I say it, I keep wanting to say Green Valley, but it's just Valley. Valley Food Storage. I don't know how long they've been around. I haven't heard of them until relatively recently. But definitely like the ingredients, like the taste. So if you're in a position where you can afford it, it seems like a good choice. And for a lot of people, it's not gonna be an issue. You know, I'm always broke. So to me, I'm like, oh, an extra $100. But if you're talking about, you know, there's a lot of people out there that make decent money and spending a few $100 extra to get food that's really good and really good quality is like a no-brainer. You don't have to go scrounge around for the cheapest possible option, then that's good. So I'd check them out. Just buy one or two, sample them, see what you think. I honestly was always in my head, I'm always thinking like, what am I gonna tell these people when their shit sucks and it has more downsides than upsides? And that isn't the case. Like I said, I'm not saying run out and spend all your money on this stuff right away, but one of the better ones I've tasted, and at least that particular meal, and the ingredients are solid, which is a big deal to me personally. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you guys think if you've tried any of these, and I'll talk to you soon.